So there have been many discussions about who is the most underrated wrestler of all time. Paul Roma is so underrated that people forget about him when considering the subject. Roma began working his earliest matches for the WWF in December of '84. He had almost everything a promoter could want in a talent. He was tall, handsome, muscular physique, and athletic, talented, hardworking, charismatic, and instantly popular with live crowds. The two things he lacked were experience and a reputation. The WWF figured that he could gain both of those through time. As was with tradition, Roma worked a preliminary talent before he was offered a formal contract. He was often booked to win against other preliminary talents and jobbers, but took losses against established talents. He began a push in a tag team with S.D. Jones to ready him for television in early '87. He was packaged into a tag team with Jim Powers that took a long time to take off. When they finally did, they picked up wins against every established name in the tag team division, including the reigning World Tag Team Champions. They became known as the Young Stallions, after Vince McMahon referred to them as such in passing on commentary. However, even though it was teased often, they would never pick up the crucial win when the titles were on the line. Then suddenly they began sliding to the bottom of the rankings. Roma theorizes it was because they didn't get along and they were only paired together because of their similar physiques. Powers takes responsibility for the team failing. He admits that he didn't work hard like Roma did, and he believes that an incident he had with management affected both their careers. The team split really with no explanation. Roma struggled to get any momentum until he was placed into another tag team. The time he was partnered with Hercules to become Power and Glory rather. Even though they were heels, they were a bigger hit with the fans. Roma admits that they didn't like each other at first, but became like brothers, possibly explaining their in-ring chemistry. While this team never picked up any championships either, they were a thorn in the sides of babyfaces in each division. Fans are forgiven for thinking their squash loss to the Legion of Doom at WrestleMania was an attempt to bury their team. Roma admits that the squash was his idea. Power and Glory was supposed to lose, but Roma had an arm injury that made him unable to compete. He suggested being squashed was a way to put LOD over without aggravating his injury. Roma also claims that his frequent rival Bret Hart called Power and Glory the best tag team that he ever seen. In '93, Roma joined WCW and was immediately recruited into the Four Horsemen. He quickly won the WCW World Tag Team Championships with Arn Anderson, and he had those belts for a month. After leaving the stable, he formed yet another tag team with Paul Orndorff called Pretty Wonderful. They appeared to be reluctant at first, but with guidance from the masked assassin, they became a formidable force. They would win the tag team championships twice. Things turned sour for Roma when he had a bad response to putting Alex Wright over. Even though Wright picked up the win as planned, Roma changed the script by dominating the match and working stiff with the rookie. Roma was punished by being booked as a jobber until being released several weeks later. He went on to wrestle for Catch Wrestling Association. And then he eventually retired for a little bit. He kept away from the industry until the WWE approached him to take part in a Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen documentary. Roma was portrayed as being bitter and having an infatuated sense of ego. In reality, he refused to say anything. negative about his former co-workers until the WWE crew alleged the others had already buried him first. This footage has been shown to the other Horsemen members, who retaliated in kind. It wasn't until after the DVD was released that Roma learned that he had been tricked into looking bad to add extra drama to the production. He also took particular exception to Triple H referring to him as WWF's job guy, noting that Triple H's marriage to his boss's daughter didn't exactly hinder his rise in the industry. The controversy caught the attention of indie promotion Kinetic Championship Wrestling. He was brought in as the commissioner. During a crossover with the Independent Association of Wrestling, he was reunited with Orndorff. This led to Roma competing for IWA and winning the heavyweight championship. His final match was a one-off event for Empire Wrestling Association just last year. This appearance saw him become subject to a legal dispute where his wrestling training school was accused of breaking state coronavirus guidelines. All fines were dropped after Roma managed to prove that the school had not put on shows and only allowed gym facilities to be used, which was permitted. The question to you is, was Roma's legacy where it should be? I hope all is well.